Hang on, folks. We've got a lightning round. If you missed the video from yesterday, this was about things that we were recommending for President Trump to do regarding Social Security, illegal aliens, and these ITIN numbers. Douglas has spent the morning going through the news cycle, and he has a lot to say.
Yes, we've been taking these things apart for you in decoding Trump executive orders and actions. But now, today, first off, if you haven't signed up for Gab and watch Gabriel's Horn on Gab and watch what the team does there, then you're missing out. This is just from one 24-hour period, okay? So we're going to do a lightning round because I could take each one of these and go into infinite detail, but I'm not going to because there's too much happening. And I don't want to miss this because I want to laugh in the face of these evil fraudsters, these people who have drained the blood of America. What would you call it? This is the absolute liberal, libtard takeover of America and handing it to everyone, but first off to the Brits. And then the other scraps to the rest of the world, as we found out through USAID. So here we go. I don't know. There's like 3 pages here. Okay, here we are. Consumer Financial Protection Bureau. Do you realize how happy I was to see Elizabeth Warren, Pocahontas, mad? You know why she's mad? Because she had built $711 million up in a slush fund. So what did Trump say? He sent a note saying, you don't need any of that. Sorry. Oh, and by the way, you probably aren't going to exist much longer. That was an agency that didn't try anybody. They went to any company that they decided to target that wasn't a libtard company and just slapped a fine on them. It's a shakedown. Number 2, going after Fauci. Okay, the preemptive pardon by Biden, first off, has been found to be illegal, but many of the attorney generals from the different states are going after Fauci. I predict Fauci will now disappear in a false death. Remember, that's why he gave himself in public 3 times COVID, though he had the vaccination, supposedly. So Fauci is just absolutely horrifying. You have to go over, but don't forget Redfield tried to jump out, go after the head of the CDC, and go after the Fauci. And of course, I'm going to recommend here. I have a set of recommendations. Of course, close the CDC, close the NIH. They've done nothing but harm people. So that was 2 and 3. 3. He's going after FEMA. This is what he's going to find out. FEMA's never helped anyone ever, and if they did, it was too late, so it didn't matter. So he will close FEMA down. Mark my words. There's no problem with that, because why? It's a complete – what it does is it gives to Crown agents and foundations like Hillary Clinton's foundation. We just got to see that the UN said that during the Haiti crisis, the UN said, we're not going to help them. We appoint the Clintons to help them. And as we know, they stole all the money except for one warehouse where they built a T-shirt making factory so they could silk screen it. And then they, of course, human trafficked a lot of children. Number 4, war on the border. Okay, Trump just sent more troops. Now, I don't know why they get the numbers all wrong. The numbers are now 6,000, not the numbers you hear in the news, and 2,500 that were already there. Now, they were there illegally because posse comitatus can't be instituted to where you use your own military troops inside the borders of America unless you declare an emergency. Well, Trump declared an emergency. Now what's going to happen? We got the head of Mexico screaming at Trump she's never going to help because why? She's controlled by the cartels. They threatened her life. Then the cartel said, oh my gosh, the CIA is no longer delivering fentanyl to the border. We have no fentanyl to take across. That's our biggest business. Being coyotes and charging for every single invader in America is their other business. And then, of course, selling cocaine, which has always been one of the CIA's, number one moneymakers. So when the CIA got closed recently, and you don't know it's closed, but it is, why? Because they can't let anyone audit what they do because it's all black ops. So it's done. Okay, so the war at the border is going to now escalate. Please remember that the president of Mexico has sent 10,000 troops to the border. So what? Last time she sent 10,000 was the previous guy who sent 10,000 troops. The cartels kicked their butt. They are outgunned, outmanned, they make more money than these poor soldiers. And so anytime they send law enforcement to our southern border, the Mexican northern border, they get killed. They start using serious weapons that they bought from America, the CIA, light anti-tank weapons. They use missiles, okay? These guys aren't playing around. We will have a war on the border, and as I told you, Trump will use, which he did a few days ago, a letter of marque to hire mercenaries like Eric Prince and others, KLM and all those people, the Halliburton group, mercenary group, and on and on and on. So anyway, that's the border. Now, weather manipulation. Okay, so they found in USAID that they were paying some small companies to do cloud seeding. And then they looked into what the cloud seeding is, and it's poisons. So it wasn't clouds. I mean, you're not going to cloud seed with nanoparticles of metals.
Does this mean that the chemtrailing is going to stop?
No, that's where I was going with this. Because you look at the companies that they found, this is just a preliminary. I could have taken a Boy Scout troop in and found all these things that have been found out so far. You can look up most of this on Wikipedia. Okay, I mean $7 trillion a year and 2.5. Okay, there's 4.5 million federal employees. They spend $7 trillion a year. Okay, so and then supposedly the 2.5 million military are paid out of the $816 billion Pentagon budget. So that's not $1 trillion. So folks, what I'm about to tell you may shock you. 2 million federal employees are paid every year $6 trillion, and or the money is thrown away. But it's never thrown away. It's thrown into the hands of Washington, D.C. insiders who collect it. That's what we're finding out with USAID.
Well, to interrupt you, because I don't know where else I'm going to drop this, is all of these U.S. Agency International Development dollars, because I hate saying U.S. aid because it's anything but aid, but they have to be originated with banks who are willing to give out the loans because there is a guarantee that the United States government is going to pay that agency for that project. So I'm wondering, if everything's stopped right now, have we factored in the losses of the banks not being able to claw back their loans?
No, that's why he's doing this slow walk. This is called the slow perp walk. These are dead men walking. If he wishes to prosecute. If he doesn't, then they walk, they get out, he gets control, and he changes it for the better, and then he can hire 5,000 lawyers to go after them. He needs them out. That's why his new pretty little attorney general has said, sanctuary cities, we're coming after you. Now, do we know this is going to happen? Yeah, we know, because Chicago, the number one place that funds through NGOs, through Emmanuel, what's his name? Obama's old boyfriend. Anyway, all the Chicago mafia ran Washington, D.C. for years, and Valerie Jarrett, Big Mike, Obama are still there, still trying. They're losing. Matter of fact, they'll probably close that house down because it has a copy or it has a trunk to the U.S. Digital Service. So if you think that they didn't have this information before, you're very naive. Now, going back, sanctuary cities. All sanctuary city, any law enforcement that are letting people out before turning them onto ICE, because if they're not a citizen, you have to turn them over to ICE, okay? Well, they've been giving a free get-out-of-jail card to all immigrants for a long, long time, especially the murderers, especially those who sell fentanyl and kill untold amounts of Americans. So sanctuary cities action has now become quite official. Next, National Endowment of the Arts. Okay, that sounds innocent, doesn't it? Wrong. That is a propaganda machine that uses Tavistock control through things like Hollywood productions, and the CIA does a lot of Hollywood productions to twist our minds up and to erode our morality. That's what the National Endowment of Arts is. And also NPR has to be the same thing. It's just a propaganda machine. Kennedy Center, I can't wait to see Trump directing his first symphony there, because he just kicked out all the DIE people. That's number 9. Now, I can't give you all the numbers because this goes to 3 pages. But anyway, going on. The mainstream media who took any government money violated the U.S. Commerce Act. But what's Trump doing? This is the slow walk of the perps. So he's going after CBS for $20 billion first. He's going to first off try to bankrupt them. In other words, claw back. In other words, audit and take the money. And that's what he's going to do with every one of these. Right now, DOJ has access to 14 agencies. That's the tip of the iceberg. And most of the stuff that they found out, we have already revealed in great detail, told you who did it, where it went, and how to go arrest them, and gave you the indictable evidence. So all mainstream media that took money, probably including Fox, we haven't seen that yet, the only supposed conservative station, will all have to go down. Yeah. They're all criminals, and just as he has banned Alvin Braggs and Letitia, well, I don't have that right here. It's on the next page. And Blinken and all these people, he's going to ban mainstream media people from ever broadcasting again. That will be the agreement, folks. None of these people. Rachel Madcow is not going to be on another lying propaganda machine. Now, remember, when this happened, this is also the Board of Broadcasting Governors. And we're finding out that we spent billions to propagandize other nations. Well, that's all gone. The Global Engagement Center closed down, they say, before Trump got in office. Lie. They moved it to 2 other departments. So he will go after them too. It'll probably be gone because those are just subsets of other agencies. So I anticipate that at this moment, the Global Engagement Center has been closed. Okay, now I got a list of things that we're going to tell Trump to do, but that's going to be in another video or audio where we say, for the president's ears only, because he's doing a great job so far. I just don't want to get so far behind the people out there are saying, well, why did he go after the National Endowment of Arts? Oh, he's such a mean man. No, that is horrifying propaganda. And look at what was happening at the Kennedy Center. I mean, it's like, trans clowns reading at schools. Those schools are controlled by the federal government. If there's ever another trans clown reading at a school, it breaks federal law. Okay, let's get on with it. I stopped numbering them. First off, Trump is already found out that he's being listened to and he's being spied on, and he thinks he has a secure system because he was told that the systems by Elon Musk, who doesn't know nothing, he was told that the systems are secure. Dude, you have to, and he looks like he's getting ready to take action. Get my skiff. Get Messenger Vault, Mr. Trump, Mr. President. If you don't, you will always be leaking everything you ever say, which you're noticing is happening already because you haven't gotten rid of all the little people who think they're bigger than you. Okay, now, I said close the National Institute of Health and the CDC. Well, already he said he has already disabled them. He's already said no more publications, no more communications until future told. And also he stopped completely the World Health Organization participation, which caused a number of other nations to do so. And now you have Tedros, and by the way, I'm going to keep repeating this, is on his knees begging, just like Fauci's on his knees begging, just like so many of these people who stand up to Trump and think they're being tough. A day later, they're on their knees begging. Okay, so that's what's going on all over. Now, he's already did some tricks with the Fed. I'm not going to go. I already went into those details. $1 trillion. First off, climate. We haven't even mentioned the fact that he got us out of the climate agreement, which is $1 trillion. But as of just recently, that's I forget how many hundreds of billions of dollars. Okay, so the Fed, we have to default on the Fed. Everybody's yelling, audit the Fed. He's going to audit the Fed. But here's what he's going to find out. The Fed is run by the Brits. Has nothing to do with the U.S. Treasury. The reason I know this is because he already insinuated that the people in the Treasury are saying every piece of labor information. That's why he's going after an audit of the Labor Department, because all those statistics, as I've told you for many years, are all fake. Every one of them, and why it's legal for the Fed to manipulate the market. It's legal for the Treasury to change the stock market after the hours are closed or before it opens. It's legal to do what he just did, which is a currency exchange, and also what he's trying to do to Britain when having 124 tons of gold delivered. That is their balance in their currency exchange with us. That's nothing. That's happening now to a lot of countries. No one seems to know that. Okay, he's calling back the debt of foreign countries on our currency. And it's a huge amount of money. I can't even calculate how much money that is. Anyway, and then the fake gold coming out of Britain from that they said they got from Ghana, the fake gold of China coming out of what's their place there in the Ivory Coast. Anyway, that's all fake gold. And so don't worry about it. We are going to corner the market for gold, and then you're going to see gold go skyrocket. Mark my words. Okay, Alvin Bragg, Letitia James, Anthony Blinken, when they got their security clearances revoked, they can't do their job out in the corporate world. That's why you get hired in the corporate world. I'm yelling again, sorry. How dare anyone take their top secret security clearance and use it for corporate interests? Comey, Andrew McCabe, all of them, every single SES member when they stopped their high-paying job. And what was it that we found out the other day? Who was it? Some job. USAID revealed that someone they hired in one of these agencies was being paid a government salary of over $10 million a year. Okay, so they Trump fired him. I didn't even put that on the list.
The Tennessee Port Authority.
Yeah. Oh no. It was the Tennessee Valley Authority.
Yeah.
Which has the secrets of thorium, which has the secrets of the new pellet-driven small nuclear plants, which has all these secrets in it. So they pay the man to guard the secrets, $10 million a year.
They pay the man to keep the technology from reaching we the people, because it's not that complicated. Remember, we've had cats come through our network over the years to explain how thorium works.
With USAID, they are going to go after the Clinton Foundation, because the Clinton Foundation was given tens of millions, if not hundreds of millions, no one knows so far, and that's not checking out who donated to them from foreign countries illegally when she was Secretary of State. So the Clinton Foundation is going to go down. So Andrew McCabe, who had 5 investigations on the Clinton Foundations,
couldn't find a thing,
and he was convicted of 5 felonies. They called it not having candor. In other words, bold-faced lies. But he was SES, and as we told you, when it looked like McCabe was going to be fired or Comey was going to be fired. Oh, what happened with McCabe? He wasn't fired. He got his full retirement. Absolutely. SES retirements are huge. So Clinton Foundation, already we can see it's going to go down. Paper ballots. No machines anymore. Here's the deal. He is doing this to California. If he can break the back of California with this recall for Gavin Newsom, which is happening now, and that's because Trump went out there and said, you're an idiot, and you did this. You stopped the water for some stupid, environmental issue. You did this on purpose. I could go after you for fraud, and I could go after you for Gavin Newsom's choo-choo train, which was supposed to go up to San Francisco, but now goes to Las Vegas, so he can go gambling on the weekends with the money he's stealing from all of us. He just signed $50 million to fight Trump. Well, Trump already said, you get nothing, and so he's going to spend $50 million to get nothing until he does what? Gets rid of the illegal aliens, goes to paper ballots and voter ID cards, which means California will no longer be the biggest Democratic vote in the country. No, that's gone. And this is just the slow walk, the art of the deal, softening up. It's called softening up your opponent. And then I've seen people do this. Someone I know who's sitting right next to me scare the crap out of me to negotiate this way, but because you sure you're going to lose. You're not going to lose. You got the other person by the short hairs, okay? I mean, Trump has all the cards. Biden couldn't find the deck of cards. Okay, so, I mentioned he called in the currency debt. Now, people don't know this because all we know is what happened to Britain because some whistleblower said, oh, look at this in Britain. And now, now they got the guy who runs the Rothschild gold vault sitting on the gold saying everything's okay here. And then they asked the panel about it, and none of them can give any answers. They literally, and then they can't answer it. He just took away half the gold from the Bank of England.
And they say deliveries are 4 to 6 weeks out. Well, folks, no, that 4 to 6 weeks from now, you're going to hear it's another 4 to 6 weeks. And the reason they're giving is very difficult. I mean, this gold, it's heavy. You have to get it from secret places. They're making every excuse out there.
We have shown you that most of those gold vaults are empty, like the one in Nova Scotia, the one in Shanghai Gold Exchange Center. And this gold vault is complete, it's a farce because there's 32 paper notes written on every ounce of gold in the Rothschild gold vault. So imagine 36,000 less bars of gold there than there really are. It should be less than empty if it was the truth. Okay. No transgenders in the federal government. Do you realize how big this is? This is, remember, now we only have two sexes, and now all the doctors, all the psychiatrists are coming out saying anyone who thinks they're transgender is mentally ill. Now, remember, we stopped mental ill hospitals for the mentally ill all across America, 10, 20 years ago. And so there's no recourse except to get a job in the federal government.
And it is okay now to say Mr. Sam Powers and Mr. Michael Obama because the tranny illusion is gone.
Now, this thing that's the real big news, the 22 million people who are on Social Security, we pointed out in our last talk that that's the individual tax identification number. It's just a complete fraud, what they call remittance of money back to foreign countries, complete fraud by the U.S. federal Treasury. And essentially, as we know, that's only half of there's three forms of this. That's one third of it. So imagine, it's at least 66 million. Some say 70 million. When that is taken care of, now that is just the tip of the iceberg because these people get all kinds of benefits you don't get, okay? Because they have a 9 at the beginning of their Social Security number, so that means they're an illegal alien, so they get free federal lawyers to help them stay in the country. They get services you can't imagine. Act like you are one of these people coming across the border. Go on the internet and say, how do I get a Social Security card? They will walk you through it. They'll get you a lawyer. They'll pay for it. They'll give you your phone so you can do it. Everything, okay? It's the hugest fraud. And remember, 1/3 of these people coming in through the Christian organizations, which now, even the Jesuit organization for what's called refugee placement, those are not Jesuits. They are the ones that say Christian. They're not Christian. Catholic. They're not Catholic. Lutheran. They're not Lutheran. I've searched this. I've researched this. They're all frauds. And all those people come up missing after a very short period of time. But we keep making the payments because just as Doge has figured out, once you have a payment going through the Treasury, it never stops. There are thousands of hundreds of dead agencies and thousands of shill companies that are still being paid. There are people who are 116 years old. There's people way over 100 that are still being paid on Social Security. Guess why? That's just one of the payments we pay to that invader. Okay, because the invader also goes out and gets a job under the table, takes the money of the Social Security disability person, takes the Medicare, takes all of that, takes the free housing, takes their children get to go to school. Though they're 116 years old, they still have children going to school for free, and we have to speak to them in their language and make sure the newsletter is in every language of every child in the school. Okay, this is insanity. They get free medical care, no deductibles. Don't get me started. This is one of the biggest, horriblest frauds ever happened in history.
But as we pointed out, or as you pointed out in the last video, this one was so easy to do. President Trump, just get a list of all of the People with the nines in front of these ITIN numbers, they'll have the same amount of digits there as a Social Security number. Get all those nines and stop payment immediately. And then see who yells and screams and work it back, and you'll find your American taxpayers are paying illegal aliens more than they pay grandma.
Now, Elon, if you were smart, I'd give this message to you, but I know you're stupid, so I'm going to give it to whoever the smart tech people are. Valerie Jarrett, Obama, Big Mike in their Washington, D.C. house have the full copy of the U.S. Digital Service, which has the Cobalt version from the Treasury and from the IRS. We know this. This is a fact. So they're able to spy at all of them. That's how the FISA warrants can actually get down into the detail of who's who and what's going on, right? But the Treasury doesn't think that they think their system is so old that nobody can penetrate it, nobody has it. Wrong. IRS thinks the same thing. Wrong. You can go in and update those systems in a minute. Literally, you can have what they call AI, rewrite a program to simply, oh, what did they find out at the Treasury? Oh, this is a brand new one too. They don't have any bookkeeping entries for their payments. None. They have no books. The U.S., and I always said this, I knew that the U.S. Federal Reserve did not have books because they talk about off-book accounting of trillions of dollars. The people we owe, how much? 30-some trillion dollars to? We don't owe them a penny. You need to default on that. That is fraud. Okay, how much money did you just save? That's the gross domestic product for the whole year by simply defaulting on the Fed.
And remember, the Federal Reserve, people, is the British. So we would be defaulting on our enemy, the British.
In Detroit some years ago, when I was an advisor to the person who took over the education department of Detroit, I said, all you have to do on day one, on the first paycheck, say you have to show up to the central office to receive your paycheck. Do you know how many people were being paid that didn't even work there? Thousands.
It was all in the news, too.
Thousands. Well, guess what? When Trump said you have to show up for work, guess how many people won't show up? Guess how many people are nobodies?
Oh, I didn't think of that.
Okay, you have 2 million people supposedly running D.C. who are all paid. No, that's complete BS. No. That's why he said, and this is the first thing you do, show up to get your check. No, you can't send your mom, your dad, your brother, your sister, your dog. You show up, and you have to have a picture ID. And it was unbelievable how many services had been going on for 20, 30 years, paying people who never did a speck of work in Detroit Public School. That's why all the buildings are falling down and why it's one of the worst school districts in the world. I know, I work there. And I've assessed many other districts. Another point, school choice. Trump is harping on school choice. Before that, he was harping on homeschooling. So basically what he's telling you is he's going to destroy. Not only did he close the Department of Education, that's old news. It should have been closed a long time ago because all they do is grift money for who? Pearson and all the big publishers. It's terrible what they do. And the federal standards no one can meet. The core curriculum, complete nonsense. The way they set up high stakes tests, it's all awful. Stop all that. Okay. I have down here one of the top things that has to happen for the world. And if you don't do this, Mr. Trump, you are making a huge mistake. Arrest Bill Gates now. He is perpetrating, he's giving medical advice, isn't he? And he's not a doctor. Arrest him for that. Arrest him for tax evasion. Arrest him for the fact that there's 4 nations that wish to put him in jail because he put poison in the HPV vaccinations for girls in Africa and sterilized them. Okay, how about the polio that he gave out in India that 400,000 children are paralyzed? You must arrest the biggest criminals, Fauci and Gates. Immediately put them in jail. Now, I know you're going after them because USAID shows that we paid him to do all this evil that he's doing. Tens of billions of dollars, okay? Now, Treasury bookkeeping. Oh, yeah, there are none, okay? So all you have to do is realize it's unauditable. So when they say they're auditing the Treasury, no, they can't. It's not possible. They don't have books. Okay? So you got to get a system. And when you do, you'll realize you don't need the Fed, because the Fed does the work the Treasury is supposed to be doing, makes up all those lies. Why? It's a private company. No one's culpable. What's that debt? That's onerous debt. No one's culpable. And when you look at who owns it, it was started by British bankers, and they still own it to this day. Okay, you now have Zelensky. I just watched him on Gabriel's Horn, on Gab, begging Trump to please do the deal. I'm ready to. He said, I'm ready to do the deal probably 20 times in one short video. He goes, here it is, right here. Oh, trillions of dollars worth of lithium and rare earth. Come on, I'm ready to do the deal. 1 week ago, he said, F you to Trump. And he said, give me nukes, period. Now, Trump has him on his knees, begging like the cheap prostitute that he is. Okay, the assassination attempt. He's opening an investigation into that. You're going to find out that the FBI is in a battle with the CIA of who will kill their enemies. It doesn't matter whether they're domestic or foreign. The FBI is an assassination group. And mind you, they have trained most of the active shooters. They trained them themselves. They MK Ultra'd their mind. They programmed them, and they are the ones pulling the trigger. Jack Smith, okay, he's not even an American. How the heck did he bring a case against Trump? He needs to go to jail. And by the way, Trump also, I didn't have it on the list, closed down our association with the International Criminal Court because they went after Netanyahu, his good buddy, who years ago told his stepson, his godson, what's his name? Jared Kushner, about this project. And by the way, I have it in here somewhere. The Gaza project, what did Trump say? No troops, no money from U.S. He also said, we're going to send them to Jordan. We're going to send the Palestinians to Jordan and to Egypt. Now what does he say? Jordan of Eden and Egypt have called me up and said they're going to build the resort on Gaza. Or else Trump is going to send you all those Palestinians, and they're going to do to you what they do to Israel. That's why we gave you $4.5 billion to build a wall on the West Bank to keep those Palestinian terrorists out. Why? Because they're Israeli terrorists infiltrating the Palestinians. And also, we gave, I think it was $4 to $6 billion to drill the oil in Golan Heights, which is occupied territory. Bibi, you're in court over that one. You're in court over the Mediterranean Basin oil. You really ought to, not be so overt in what you're doing. And Trump is just trying to do the deal for America and for American interests, and he doesn't really care.
Well, I think it's wonderful. Cats know that we have an eye on Trump. We're watching him, too, for any play that he and Elon might make to take over the world, okay? But that aside, step back and watch how brilliant he is. I mean, he's a billionaire. Have you ever seen a billionaire at work? Watch this. And when I heard what he was going to do on Gaza, I'm like, this is so brilliant, because what he's showing the world is, let's all just make a deal. Oh, remember that show, Let's Make a Deal?
Let's Make a Deal.
It was such a huge show. Everybody just wants to make a deal.
Absolutely. Now, remember, Trump was trained with the biggest criminals in New York City. New York City is the biggest criminal organization in the world, period, hands down. I mean, they're better than China, Russia, North Carolina, and all North Korea, all the rest put together. So he knows how to deal with these criminals. Okay? You might as well call him he's the Don, isn't he? We should all be kissing his ring. And when they dressed him up as a gangster the other day, I said, yeah, you're not kidding. I already went over the fact that they're auditing Gavin Newsom's choo-choo train to Las Vegas. Okay, here's what's going to happen. Gavin took all the money, billions of dollars, did nothing. Now he got Nevada and Las Vegas money to build it for him. Not one penny we gave from we the people, federal government tax dollars has gone into that. That went right into his pocket. Okay, he is literally one of the most evil things. I can't even stand to look at him or hear his voice. Gaza, Egypt, and Jordan. Remember what happened when they opened up Palestine the last time, a decade or so ago, and some Palestinians went into Egypt. They had 2 years of nonstop terrorism attacks on Christians, Muslims, you name it, everybody. They don't want any Palestinians, okay? And so this is just going to be hysterical to watch what happens. And now everybody's saying it's not going to take any time at all. And Trump is now going on about it's going to be the best. And the Palestinians come back and stay in his resort. And remember what I told you. He's not going to build a bit of it, but he's going to have his friends buy a 1 mile by 5 mile strip, the narrowest part across the Gaza Strip, which goes into Israel. That's where the refinery plant will be. There'll be a mini refinery plant right there near the shore. The Leviathan will be able to dock there, as well as pipelines coming from the 5 different platforms that the Israelis have already put there to keep the other countries from taking the oil will come right in there. It will be one of the most fantastic pipelines in the world. It will literally be as big as the ones in Kuwait, which started the Iraqi war. Don't forget that. He who controls the pipeline, not the oil. Why did the Ukrainian war start? The Ukrainians closed down. Well, it started because the British attacked one of the pipelines that went through Ukraine that was in Russia, and the power plant that powered it, and the major pipeline going through the southern part of Belarus. Oil is not about oil. It's about the pipelines. Nord Stream 1, Nord Stream 2, the 4 across Ukraine, the 2 across Belarus, those are all closed. What does that do to our oil in America? It makes it, 2, 4, 7 times more valuable. But anyway, this whole thing in Gaza is really, it's all about oil. Don't forget that. And remember, there is no Hamas. And remember that Bibi Netanyahu is one of the biggest criminals on the earth right now. And he's playing with apocalypse as if it's a game of checkers. All right, 18,000 Indians, invaders, the ones who came over on visas, and they know they're here. How do you think they gathered up 18,000 Indians in one day? That's right, overstayed visas. And so what happened? Who do you think gathered them up? The U.S.? No. Why do you think they're the first ones to gather and be sent back on their own planes? Because Modi says, I don't want you to kick out all the H-1B because the remittance coming to India is, if the remittance coming to Mexico every year, what was the number? 86 billion, then the one going to India has got to be 50, 70 billion a year.
Oh, this is brilliant. But we're not going to shut down the H-1B program yet, because first we're going to have the world leaders demand that all the illegals from their country that are in the United States come back, because they're fearful of not getting the remittances, right? But this program is going to be closed. Either way, it could be closed at the remittance window at the U.S. Treasury, as you just described, or it could be the change in the H-1B program itself. But don't expose that yet. Make sure the world leaders take their people back. Is that what I'm hearing?
Yeah. And send their own planes to take them.
Yeah.
Because they know who's here on a visa on an overstay. We know where they are, and we know the people that they say they were visiting, and we know everything about them. And if they went and got an ITIN number, well, then we know where they live, we know where they work, we know everything about them. So 18,000 of them, literally, you couldn't imagine. You thought the rush across the southern border when Trump came into power and said no more was amazing. It was like an exodus. You ain't seen nothing yet, okay? Any country that wants to do business with us is going to take back their visa overstays. That's another at least 10 million people here right now, okay? And we know they're here. And how come they don't go after those people? Because this is the way that the communists had always said we would be taken out, by rotting from the inside out. And now you can't name, and I've said this again, send me the name of an honest person in Washington, D.C., District of Crime, and I will change my words. I don't know an honest one. Now, going on.
But are there going to be special protected people in this whole immigration stuff? For example, we have Marco Rubio here, and everybody sees on Wikipedia that he was birthed here in the United States in Miami of immigrant parents. So his parents were not citizens when they were here. They birthed little Rubio. Now, that doesn't mean that he's not a citizen, because he could have applied for citizenship. I mean, did his parents? I'm not sure. But did Rubio? And the reason that we have to ask about his citizenship is Marco Rubio, a U.S. citizen? If he is, when did he apply for citizenship? Now, that means that he's not going to be a presidential candidate. But I'm concerned that he's even a U.S. citizen. So if you're deporting these other U.S. citizens, I mean, they may be working in the chicken factories. I mean, are they any different than somebody who made it to the U.S. Senate and then as Secretary of State? I think they need to make an example of Marco Rubio. And so I'm asking Mr. Holman with this. I don't know how you check. You need to check and see if Marco Rubio is a United States citizen.
An asylum family that comes here is given $50,000 a year, and that's it. They have one child. If they have more child, like this one guy had, 5 wives and 27 children or something, he was paid a huge amount of money. Of course, he disappeared because why? The Christians, supposedly, who brought him over, and I've seen the bills, they charge like, you can't even believe it. The Catholic Church charges like $2,750 to bring him from the airport to the place that is they're going to pick their check up, which their payment from the government as an asylum seeker, as a refugee. And those places none of them are connected to churches whatsoever. None of those are churches. None. Zero. None. That's why when the Jesuits come out and say that they're upset that their Jesuit refugee program, okay, that's crazy. Remember, I've preached this for a long time. The biggest criminal factor going on at the UN right now is the refugee program. The head of the UN used to be the head of the refugee program. And he personally made sure that the war in Syria started by saying that until Assad had 800,000 people leave his country, and they did, they went to Turkey, he wouldn't declare it an emergency. Well, what was it? Millions, 3 or 4 million went there. And then what happened? Half of them disappeared after giant Chinese troop ships showed up and parked right next to the refugee camp. And then I think it was 1.4 million people came up missing. So refugee is nothing more than one of the biggest scams in the world. And when the Pope says there can't be borders, then he's showing he's not a Christian because he's killing these people. He's bringing fentanyl across the border. These are all people are all complicit. Any politician that says that they support illegal aliens coming across the border are committing a treasonous crime. They have to be kicked out of their office because they swore to uphold the Constitution. And the Constitution says the job of defending the border is the president's job. And the president gets to do what he wants. And they stopped him from doing it. And then they persecuted him. So all those people got to go. We may have to just do a complete flush of the toilet of the DC. Now, going on. We stopped gender care mutilations. In other words, we stopped these transgender operations for children who in many cases, don't even have their parents' permission to do so. They just have their teachers' permission at school to do so. That's all done, okay? Why? Because all public schools get federal funds. So therefore, the president's reach goes right into those areas. Matter of fact, he could tomorrow say every single school in America, until the law is changed and they take the 0.01 cent out of every dollar sent by the federal government to every state, and that's what they use to send to this public schools, he could control those and say every school must have a secure system and guards. There would not be another shooting. That would be the last shooting in a school. So how much do we love our children? Let's remember, at least half those shootings are fake. Remember now, Greg Hogg, the fake guy from the shooting down in Florida, is now second in charge of the DNC. And he's like...
I don't think his name is Greg.
No, what's his name? Something Hogg.
We don't know. Inconsequential name. Everybody knows who you're talking about.
Mr. Hogg.
And this also needs to extend into any of these major hospitals that have psychiatric wards and different operations, where they're actually doing these operations. Because we saw that here at the University of Michigan, where Ann Arbor, the university and the hospital are so DEI that young children were being indoctrinated to thinking this and being even encouraged to make these changes. So if a hospital is receiving federal funds, they should stop this or lose their funding.
That's correct. And first off, how stupid could people be? That's just insane. So everyone else in the whole world is laughing at us. So there's 2 sexes now, sorry. And if you want to be any of the other 73 sexes, do it on your own time. No problem. Just don't bring it to the federal government. Don't bring it to the military. Don't bring it to schools. Don't bring it out into the public. Well, that's our personal opinion. But for feds, you can't do – nope, sorry, bye-bye. Okay. As I said, CBS, the $20 billion, beginning. He's going to sue all of them. If he sued one, he sets the precedent. The others will simply immediately come to him and make a deal just like Mark of the Zuckerbeast did. Mark of the Zuckerbeast knows that in any country, the back door is there. And now this is coming out in the news. And there are literally countries are saying, oh, my gosh, we're going to sue you, all you social media, because you have a back door. Hello? We've been preaching that now for 10 years or something. And everybody knows it's there. And if you don't know it's there, then you can't be a programmer or you're a stupid programmer. So everyone knows it's there. The back door is out. Therefore, there's need for encryption systems. That's why they're coming forward with all this nonsense about quantum computers and new encryption systems that are quantum proof. Complete lies, absolute lies. Or that there are AIs that can think. No, they can't. Never will. They can use machine functions. They don't have logic. They don't have reason. They don't have a soul. Sorry, not going to happen. Just like, sorry, there's 2 sexes. And you know what? I'm really good in most cases at determining someone's sex because I've caught so many babies that the mama always asks, me, what sex is the baby? And you know what? I can determine that 100% of the time accurately. It's just absolutely astounding. All right, DOJ and the 14 agencies. Remember that the 14 agencies are the beginning. Those are the 14 cabinet positions that used to be on his cabinet. Basically, the cabinet's been diminished, its power. The National Security Council has been diminished to the point that it's just Trump. So it doesn't really matter. The problem is that the 14 agencies that he went after, 2 of them, we'll just say that the IRS, and this is great. I'm going to tell you the solution here in a minute. Someone just gave us this brilliant solution. The IRS and the Treasury, they on purpose, and the Pentagon purposely use old equipment so you can't audit them. You can't trace them. That all has to be ended. And that's just the beginning. There are hundreds of agencies. And now we find out through USAID revelations that there are literally hundreds that still exist that nobody's there, but people are being paid. There's no office. There's nothing. But the same people have been paid now for 10, 20 years, and it never stops because the Treasury just keeps doing the checks because nobody ever puts a stop check on it. Nobody ever says that agency closed. So this is insanity. The 14 agencies, tip of the iceberg. And don't forget, he keeps reiterating not the IRS, the Internal Revenue System, but the External Revenue Service. And what's he going to do there? Well, as this brilliant person suggested to us just the other day, after we recently, you take the auditors from the IRS because the IRS is going to close down. Okay. First off, it was for a war debt. If you go back to the original language, that's somewhat true. But basically, it is a fraudulent contract, okay? Do you know that we pay whenever the Fed gives a bill to Congress, and every single time but one, they pay the bill no matter what the bill is, no clarification of what the money's spent on, who it's spent on, who works there, nothing. We get nothing from them. They are a private organization with a monopoly that gives us a bill every 3 to 5 years, and usually the bill is between $8 to $10 billion. I think they have 147 people working there. So split up that money. They're being paid the most enormous amounts of money for any salary you can imagine. Okay? Why? Because they're a corporation. That's what happens in corporations. The people at the top pay big money to lie. So we have the auditors from the IRS when it's closed down, and we go to simply a sales tax. And yes, corporations, you're going to have to pay sales tax at the moment that you buy anything, including land or anything else. And then we're all square. Every time you spend money, everyone's all square. And if you don't want to pay taxes, don't buy anything. So the auditors from the IRS go over to become the auditors of the federal agencies. Brilliant suggestion, because those auditors are really good. They've had their hands tied for many years. They know of all this corruption. They know where the money is. They know where the secrets are. Use your IRS agents. By the way, the big IRS agents are all jumping out now when given the option to take a retirement. Why? Because they know that the system is 100% rigged. They know that every person with a 9 is a felony criminal, and they don't care. They were told, collect the money. We don't care if you're getting it from criminals, from foreign countries,
from child trafficking, anything. If they see it, they don't have to report it. They just want their money.
They don't report it. They can't report it.
Yeah, they can't report
They
it.
can't report George Soros. Okay? That's how crazy it is. So the Doge, no, it's for 18 months. He will not need 18 months to do what I'm talking about. Literally, I could get Michael McKibben. We could go in and do what Doge is doing in a week. This is no problem. You can write the programs that then set up the bookkeeping for the Treasury and the Pentagon. And guess what, folks? The Pentagon is, to my knowledge, from previous audits, $7 trillion in the hole. Never asked to explain it. Never asked for their books. No explanations for any of it. And yet, remember, we have a budget. We have a $7 trillion budget. But in some years, the Pentagon can go $2 trillion over and nothing happens.
That's because we've been in a state of continuous operation for many years. So there is no budget. They just get down to December and go, oh my gosh, we're going to close it. And then the budget, whatever last year's numbers were, let's add 10% to it. So they're never accountable for anything.
Ever. And when they are, the Justice Department, which Trump is going after, because you got to see what he's doing, going after all these crooked judges, that's going to make other judges change their opinions about many things. And so these crooked judges trying to stop Trump with the DACA or with the sending out the immigrants, no, those are all executive privilege. There's nothing they can do. But last point is this: there is a solution. First off, we have to stop the prejudice against the majority of Americans, which DEI was an attack against the majority of Americans by race. That's why it was discriminatory. That's why it has to be stopped. And literally the people who promoted this need to answer for it. But remember, if they had made a law or a regulation before Chevron deference, you're not going to prosecute them. So that's why you don't see everyone going to jail. But you certainly could prosecute Bill Gates, who's come out and admitted his guilt many times, or Anthony Fauci, who we have the evidence on. So what's the last thing I'm going to mention here? It's the solution to all these problems. It's called morality. Trump is now ending religious persecution of Christians in America and across the world. Folks, we have been targeted. We have placed other religions and other supposed races above the very people who are the majority in America. Well, that's prejudice. And we are the opposite of that in America. We are inclusive. But we're inclusive if you follow the laws. The lawlessness of D.C. tells me there's not a Christian there. Okay, and by the way, Trump's new old Christian advisor who speaks in tongues, I've heard speaking in tongues millions of times. That lady's a fraud. So we can't use Christianity as a fraud. We have to go to the morality of Christianity. And as I've said all along, if there was one single moral person, and now I will say Christian moral person, in any of these agencies that didn't become a whistleblower, they're a criminal and they're a non-Christian. So simply turning this country back to in God we trust and protecting the moral value of Christians will solve all these problems.